Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Thursday morning. Not the best of mornings, obviously, after what happened at the Emirates last night. The big game, the one we'd all been waiting for, the one the Premier League had been waiting for, went the way of Manchester City. 3-1 winners. But Pep Guardiola's side now 11 successive wins for City against Arsenal. Arsenal just cannot end this run against them. It was a game of fine margins. Arsenal were very good, I thought, in the first half. Second half, City took control and Arsenal just gifted them the win. Really poor defensive errors, individual errors, and you just cannot afford to do that against Manchester City. Both managers kind of admitting, players admitting as well after the game, that it was decided in both boxes. Arsenal had big chances, they didn't take them. City were gifted big chances and they did take them. That was the difference. They were clinical, Arsenal weren't. And Arsenal now are sitting second in the Premier League, knocked off top spot for the first time since back in August. The hunted are now the hunters. Can they respond? That is going to be the big thing here. Can Mikel Arteta find a way of picking up his team now? It's 4 games without a win in all competitions. Clearly struggling for confidence. Clearly not able to produce the type of performances at the moment that they were earlier on in the season, or that they were just a few weeks ago when you go back to the Tottenham and Manchester United games. Their confidence has taken a bit of a hit. Their belief has taken a bit of a hit. They look tired. And now they've got to pick themselves up, and very quickly, because they've got a Saturday at lunchtime kick-off at Aston Villa to contend with. And, you know, if they don't pick themselves up quickly, then City will be out of sight in a flash. That's what they can do. That's what Arsenal have got to try and contend with now over the coming weeks. In terms of the game yesterday, like I said, it was a difficult one. It was tight. It was, as you would expect, 2 very good teams going at each other. I thought the first half Arsenal were really good. Played with a real intensity, the type of intensity we've seen. I thought City really struggled to deal with them, and Arsenal go and give away a stupid goal with a back pass that you just never see Tomiyasu do. Arteta said after the game something about, I've got it here, I'll speak about what he's had to say in a minute, but he said, he hadn't seen Tomiyasu do something like that in about 7 years, and it was just a completely uncharacteristic mistake by Tomiyasu under a bit of pressure. Should never have attempted the back pass. Did a brilliant finish by De Bruyne, mind you. I mean, that is what when I'm talking about being clinical, that is exactly what it is, because that was a fantastic finish from him, as you would expect from a player of that quality. And suddenly Arsenal 1-0 down. You wonder how they were going to respond. They responded brilliantly. I thought they were fantastic. That 25-minute period up to half-time, they were all over City. They got themselves the equaliser through the penalty. They had other chances, didn't take them. You went in at half-time, you're feeling pretty good about how the game was going, but then it just got away from Arsenal in the second half. City started well. Pep made a change, sort of changed the system, freed up Bernardo Silva, who had been playing left back, and which was just ridiculous. I mean, how he only got 1 booking in that first half. He could easily been shown about 4 yellow cards during the first half. The amount of fouls he did on Bukayo Saka. Pep changed it in the sort of half-time. Brought Akanji on, moved Bernardo Silva further forward, and it definitely swung the game Manchester City's way. They began to enjoy all the territory. You felt like a goal was coming. Arsenal didn't react. Maybe that was a mistake from Arteta, which I'll get to in a minute. They got a bit of luck with the penalty decision that was overturned on VAR, but you just still, I said it just before I tweeted it, you could just feel when you're sitting watching these games, you can sense when there's a goal coming, and it just came. It was another bad mistake from Arsenal. Gabriel, who has been so good in recent weeks, but he just looked a bit all over the place yesterday at times. Haaland gave him a torrid time. Haaland was immense. When you watch Haaland's performance, the strength, the physicality, the speed, the movement, it was just a top centre forward performance from Haaland, and he definitely unsettled the Arsenal centre backs. He certainly unsettled Gabriel, who was really trying to be sort of dominant and unsettle Haaland, but it didn't quite work, and he got caught out of position and City pounced. And again, it took a slight deflection off Tomiyasu. I don't think Grealish's shot would have got past Ramsdale had it not taken that deflection. That kind of summed up Tomiyasu's night. It summed up Arsenal's night. And once City went in front, you never felt like Arsenal were going to come back into it. They gave it a bit of a go, but it always felt like City. If anyone was going to score another one, it was going to be City, and that's how it proved with Haaland getting the goal that he deserved, De Bruyne setting him up. And their big players stepped up and they got themselves over the line. Arsenal just couldn't quite do it, and that was the difference between the two sides. Whether that ends up being the difference between the two sides at the end of the season, we'll have to wait and see. But it was a bit of a lesson from City in the end to Arsenal, the whole master versus the apprentice, all that sort of stuff. And like I said, the key thing for Arsenal is how they are going to respond, because they're going to be down today, no doubt about it. I asked Mikel afterwards, how do you pick the team up? And he said, look, the way to pick the team up is by picking up points, because the performances he thinks are still there. Whether that's really the case, I'm not so sure. It's definitely been a dip in the last few weeks. But it's just about picking up points now. It's the only way Arsenal are going to turn things around, is by winning games, picking up points, and then getting that momentum back that seems to have just drifted away from them a little bit. Performances wise, look, there wasn't many standout ones. Certainly defensively, they struggled. Tomiyasu came in. It was a big call by Arteta. I wasn't overly surprised by it. I don't think anyone minded the fact that Tomiyasu came in, given Arteta really trusts him in the big games, but it didn't work out this time. It worked out brilliantly against Liverpool when he came on. It worked out brilliant when he came on at half time against Manchester United, against Rashford, and really shut down the threat of Rashford in that half. But yesterday it just didn't work, and he endured a bit of a nightmare. The back pass, the deflection for the second goal, the volley that he missed soon after City had gone in front. It just wasn't Tomiyasu's night, and like I said, Gabriel struggled as well. And you just can't afford many off nights. City are that good. They play at that high a level that if you're going to beat them, you have to be near perfect all over the pitch, and certainly in both penalty areas. And that's where Arsenal let themselves down yesterday. Eddie Nketiah had a bit of a nightmare. He had big chances. The one in the first half at 0-0, what a crucial moment that was. Brilliant ball in from Zinchenko. You just have to score there if you're a striker in that position at the very top level against Manchester City. You're not going to get better chances than that. And the fact he didn't even hit the target was just so poor from Nketiah. And then De Bruyne goes and scores from a difficult chance a few minutes later. And again, that is just the difference. One team utterly clinical at one end, the other team wasteful at the other. And it was the story of the night. Nketiah had another chance in the second half again, which he put wide, and didn't test Ederson. And it's just a difficult night for him. And you only go back about 3 weeks, and he was scoring twice against United, and he was a hero. He's struggled since then to make his mark against Brentford and against Everton. And yesterday he did get his opportunities, but he didn't take them. And now he's under real scrutiny, and that comes from being a top club like Arsenal, in a club in the title race when you're leading the line. And this is what he wanted. This is what he said he felt like he deserved. He's got this chance now, and it's about bouncing back, because Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal need Jesus back, no doubt about it. Would Jesus have made a difference yesterday? 100%. Of course he would, because he's such a good player. But he's not around at the moment, so there's nothing Arsenal can do. You've got to stick with Nketiah and try and get him scoring again. And he can score goals. We know he can score goals. Just a few weeks ago he was scoring goals. He's just in a bad run at the moment. And it's about sorting that out. And Arsenal, the bottom line in all of this is Arsenal do not have time to feel sorry for themselves, because the nature of the beast that Manchester City is if you feel sorry for yourself, if you start dropping too many points, then bang, they are gone, and you are not catching them. They've shown that in the past when they've somehow managed to, pull away from an absolutely superb Liverpool side. And Arsenal aren't at that level at the moment. They're a young side. They're still learning. They've never been in this position before. So you just cannot afford to let Manchester City go. And look, this title race is not over by any means. I mean, to be honest, it's a three-way title race now, because Manchester United are definitely involved in it. You can't say they're not. You just look at the league table. They are. And so there's still a long way to go. And Arsenal still have a game in hand. And so it's far from over by any means. It was a bad result yesterday. They're on a bad run. The mood is low at the moment. But there's still a title there to be won. And that's why Arsenal cannot afford to feel sorry for themselves. They've got to pick themselves up. Mikel Arteta has to find a way of doing that in the next couple of days and getting Arsenal back on track. Because if they can go to Villa on Saturday, they can win, they can get themselves back in the sort of mood that they were in not so long ago, then there's still all to play for in this league. And so it's just so essential that they just do not feel sorry for themselves and let this season drift away from them. Because if they did, suddenly they're going to be looking over their shoulders at the teams behind them in terms of the race for the top four, not looking towards Manchester City and the race for the title. I'll go through my player ratings just now before we move on to what Mikel had to say. Obviously, there was some difficult performances. I thought Ramsdale did well. To be honest, I thought he made some good saves in that game, and he played well. I gave Ramsdale a 7. I thought it was one of Arsenal's better performances. Tomiyasu obviously was a nightmare game for Tomiyasu. Have to give him a 4. Saliba, I thought, had a better night than Gabriel, but both of them were given really difficult evenings by Haaland, who was honestly immense. If you weren't at the game yesterday and you couldn't just watch Haaland and what he did and the work he put through and how much pressure he put those forwards under with his strength and his movement and his pace. It was just an epic centre forward performance from Haaland. I gave Saliba a 5. I gave Gabriel a 4. Zinchenko I thought was very, very good in the first half. I thought he struggled a bit in the second half, like most of Arsenal players. I gave Zinchenko a 6. Jorginho I thought played really, really well in the first half. Maybe tired in the second half. I don't know if you can put it down to him tiring or whatever. It was just the fact that Man City were pretty relentless in that second half, and everyone sort of tailed away a little bit. But I thought Jorginho in the first half was really, really good. I thought he was Arsenal's best player. So I gave Jorginho, I'll give a 6. Xhaka, disappointing night for Xhaka. I thought he was definitely struggling for form like a lot of Arsenal players are at the moment. Xhaka, I gave a 5. Odegaard just couldn't get into the game, and especially in the second half. Pep made a point in his press conference afterwards of saying how they changed things tactically to stop Odegaard finding the space he was finding in the first half. Gave Odegaard a 5. Saka scored the goal. Nerves of steel from the penalty spot. Thought he played well in the first half again, but then when they changed things tactically, Manchester City, I thought that Grealish really sort of pushed back on Tomiyasu, and that gave Saka no support down that right hand side, and he was left isolated a little bit. I'm going to give Saka a 6, Nketiah a 4. Just a miserable night for Nketiah, really. To be fair, at least he sort of won the penalty, and but in terms of the big moments, he just didn't take advantage of them, so he gets a 4. Martinelli as well, 4. I thought he really, really struggled, Gabby, and definitely needs to be brought out the starting 11 this weekend. I think Trossard has to start this weekend, and to give Gabriel Martinelli a bit of a rest because he clearly needs it. Okay, so the news on Thomas Partey's injury, unfortunately I can't give you too much at the moment. It's going to be checked over more today before we find out kind of a little bit more on what the extent of this problem is with Partey. I'm not even sure. I couldn't say for certain what the injury is in terms of what body part. I've been told thigh, but I've also heard hamstring, so I just don't know for sure, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Mikel Arteta's press conference is tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, so maybe we'll find out a little bit more from him in terms of exactly what it is, but there's going to be further checks on Partey today before determining exactly how long it is going to be out for. There is a hope that it's not going to be anything too serious and it was just precautionary. Mikel admitted that it was a really, really late decision. I mean, I only sort of started getting news of it about mid-afternoon yesterday, that it started, you know, that he could well be out, and so hopefully, fingers crossed, it's nothing too bad for Partey, and it might only be a couple of weeks. Just really frustrating. Again, a massive game, crucial moment of the season, and Partey isn't there. That's just such a shame because it's something that happens quite a bit since his move to Arsenal, and it's just, you know, they needed him yesterday. They absolutely needed him. Mikel said, look, we don't know yet. It's what happens. It's part of football. I think Jorginho played a good game and we have to assess Tommy now to see how bad it is. And then he said it was very, very late in terms of when he found out about the injury. So that's a blow, no doubt about it. Hopefully it's not going to be something too long, but you imagine he's not going to play this weekend, you would think. So, and then it's Leicester next week, isn't it, as well? And a muscle injury, probably looking at minimum 3 weeks, but again, that's me just guessing at the moment. I don't have any real concrete information on how long he's going to be out for, but I think it's certainly, I'd be very surprised if he plays in the next couple of games, but let's put it that way. So Jorginho is going to have to step up and perform well. Not great scenes yesterday when De Bruyne came off. Everyone sort of, well, not everyone, but a fair few bottles and missiles were chucked at him as he was making his way around the pitch. Not a great look for Arsenal. Arsenal are investigating in that now, and they've promised that very hard action will be taken against anyone who's found to have thrown anything at De Bruyne. They'll be studying CCTV. The FA have launched an investigation as well, so I imagine Arsenal are going to be fined because of that. I just don't get it. So what's the point in throwing something? De Bruyne has scored one goal. He's set up another. He's been brilliant. What he doesn't care if you're throwing a couple of bottles at him, is it? Did he? I saw Tim Stillman, who I'm sure very few of you know on Twitter. He wrote a really good tweet about it today. It's just like, you just make yourself look a bit of an idiot, don't you? It's like De Bruyne is just laughing at you. So what's the point of throwing something at him? I don't get it. I don't get the mindset of someone launching a bottle at a player who's just played really, really well and is walking off the pitch having won a game for his team. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't care. He's not going to lose any sleep over it, and you're going to end up, if you get spotted, having your ticket taken away from you and never been able to watch Arsenal again. What's the point in that? It just makes no sense to me. But anyway, that's what's happening at Arsenal and the FA, both launching separate investigations into that. And if Arsenal find out who did it, the people who did it, then they're going to have their season tickets or their tickets taken away. The FA, I think, are certainly going to have to fine Arsenal for failing to control their fans or whatever the charge will be. Alright, that's it from me. Sorry it's been a bit of a downbeat video this morning, but it's impossible not to be too downbeat because that's the sort of tone when it comes to Arsenal this morning. It's been a fantastic ride, 6 months at the top of the table, but that ride is over. As I said, the hunted are now the hunters. Can Arsenal fight back? That is the big question. We'll find out very, very soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.